Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Panchatattva Jaya, Panchatattva Jaya, Panchatattva Jaya, Panchatattva. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda
Dobrodošli na tokratnem nedeljskem programu. En lep pozdrav prav vsem. Želim vam eno lepo duhovno popoldne, ki ga bomo danes imeli sicer malenkost drugačnega kot običajno, in sicer sedaj bo predavanje. Z nami je učenec njegove božanske milosti Šrila Prabhupada, to je Bir Krishna Goswami. Tukaj pozdravimo z enim glasnim Hare Bol. Welcome. We are very happy to have you here. Torej, zelo smo veseli, da je z nami pač njegova svetost Bir Krishna Goswami. Mogoče sam še najprej o programu. Po predavanju bo sledila podelitev diplom Bhakti šole in Bhakti akademije, se pravi izobraževanj, ki smo jih imeli tekom celega šolskega leta. Potem bomo pač tokrat kirtan izpustili, pa bo samo molitev Nrsimhadevo, nekaj obvestil in pa vegetarijanska pojedina oziroma prasadam. Ob 7. pa kot običajno tudi program plus z badžani z Lalit Govindo Prabhujem. Zdaj pa par besed o njegovi svetosti Bir Krishni Goswamiju. Mogoče tisti, ki ga še ne poznate, prihaja sicer iz Amerike oziroma rodil se je tam ima tudi pravzaprav svojo bazo, svoj tempelj, kamor prihaja. Večino časa pa seveda potuje in pridiga. Zelo dolga leta že pravzaprav prihaja v naš tempelj, skrbi za vso to našo skupnost, sicer sedaj ne več v tej meri, kot je včasih, ampak še vedno je pa zelo prisoten in dobro nameren z nami. Tako, sedaj pa najboljše, da mu kar predam besedo. Prevod, se pravi predavanje je v angleščini, prevod na slušalkah. If anybody needs translation, pač, kdor potrebuje prevod v slovenščino, ta bo potreboval slušalke, no. Tako, dobro, Hare Krišna.
All right, give me 1 second. Say a few more words. I'm trying to set up this thing so I can go online. Trying to go online.
Hare Krišna, bi mogoče kdo povedal kaj lepega o Bir Krishni Goswamiju? No, mogoče lahko rečemo, da je zelo izkušen, da pravzaprav je sanjasi že, mislim, da je 47. leto imel praznovanja zdaj, obletnico, 48. Se pravi, takoj, ko je Prabhupada zapustil ta svet, se je on odločil, da bo pač vzel sanjaso in pač vztrajno sledi, se trudi in ima veliko enega takega praktičnega znanja nekako, saj jaz imam dostikrat občutek, da me malo prizemlji z vsem svojim spoznanji. Mogoče še kdo kaj podelil? Dobro pozna Majo iluzorno energijo. Okay. In ve, kako nas spraviti iz tega. Še kaj? Imamo priložnost malo slaviti bakte? Zelo toleranten. Ja, hvala. Sočuten, prizemljen. Kitaro igra, ja. Ok, še kaj? Heca se, ja, zelo je. Veliko se heca, ja. Bi še kaj dodali?
Okay.
Ok, thank you. We were just talking about your good qualities, what they say. It was nice.
You'll discover the opposite. Anyway, so you got cartels? All right. Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunna Bihare Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunna Bihare Janamalaba Irivarudhaji Janamalaba Irivarudhaji Sudananda Rajajana Ranjana Yasudananda Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Manachante Yamunate Manachante Jaya Raju Manava Kunna Bihare Jana Anjana Yamunate Manachari Yamunate Manachari Madhava Kunna Bihare Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunna Bihare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya, also Tera Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shaima Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturidam Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai, Yamuna Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatari Somagana Timananda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shikadave Namaha. So I am very happy to be here with all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis in this wonderful city of Ljubljana, the beautiful temple of Sri Sri Panchatattva. Just so really overwhelmed with happiness to be here. So what I'm going to speak about today was a topic I was just talking about with some very nice people before at class, was Dharma. It's an interesting word, Dharma. And the question usually arises as to, what is my Dharma? So anyway, let's figure out, first of all, what does Dharma mean? That's interesting. Someone may say, my Dharma is to work for the government. That's not really what Dharma is. Or my Dharma is to eat a lot. That's not really Dharma either. So, Dharma really, the root of the word Dharma means basically that which sustains something. And Prabhupada generally translated it as the inseparable quality of a particular thing or a person, like that. And the example that Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, used was that of water. Water has a dharma of what? Liquidity. Of course, I was joking with some devotees before that water sometimes can change it's not actually changing its dharma, but it appears to change its dharma when it becomes solid or gas. But its actual dharma is liquid. Under extreme circumstances, it appears to change its dharma, but its dharma never changes. That's really interesting. So, what is our inseparable quality, and how will that guide us in life to be happy and fulfilled? These are important questions. So, first we have different levels of dharma. In other words, we have physical dharma, sometimes termed as material dharma. And we have spiritual dharma. So let's try to figure out both things. But material dharma, or physical dharma, as the case may be, is important too. Because if one simply concentrates on spiritual dharma without being aware of your material or physical dharma, your spiritual dharma will be very unsteady. This is actually pointed out by one great acharya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in many of his literatures, particularly one, if you're interested in reading, called the Chaitanya Shikshamrita, in which he points out that we have two types of, let's say, duties in this world, or even needs in this world. So in order to understand one's place in this world before we get to spirituality, of course spirituality, it seems to be very easy to understand, but it really gets more complicated as you go about it. Then we have to talk about the dharma of us, that is duties, place, nature of us within this world. And that involves something that's described by Krishna himself as Varnashram Dharma. Some of you may have heard that word before. Varnashram Dharma, which is a system for ascertaining how one fits into this material world, which is very important. Very important to understand what you should be doing in this material world in order to be stable and steady in spiritual progress. Because the ultimate goal is Krishna consciousness. The ultimate goal is to understand who you are, to make a solution to the problems of life. What are the problems of life? What? Birth, death, disease, old age. Dukkha, doshana, darshanam. Those are the problems of life, the ultimate problems. But in the meantime, you got a whole bunch of other problems. Financial, how to get along with your wife or husband, problem. How to get along with your parents, another problem. What sort of occupation? Anyway, you got a whole bunch of other problems you got to deal with too. But ultimately, yes, that's the ultimate goal that we should focus on. How to be happy forever and ever and fulfilled. Tushanti cha ramanti cha. How to be satisfied and happy. Unlimitedly, always. Kevalananda Kanda. Because that's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching. That's what the purpose of this Krishna consciousness movement is. To actually teach you how to be happy forever. Or as Prabhupada said in the 1960s and 70s, stay high forever. Of course, that was an expression utilized in a different culture, which I'm not going to explain what that expression meant. But it very much resonated with a group of people who were called hippies at that time. So that's really what we want. We want to stay high forever. We want to be satisfied, tushanti cha, ramanti cha, and enjoy forever. And have that happiness increasing, kevalananda kanda, and worship Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, bhaja bhaja bhai, Chaitanya Nitai. Anyway, so let's talk about basic down-to-earth stuff right now. Varnashram Dharma. Krishna explains this Varnashram Dharma. And so what the Varnashram Dharma is basically to understand 8 different things. Pretty simple, just 8. There's 8 different categories, basic categories. I mean, some people are mixed, like me, so I have a hard time understanding my Dharma. But anyway, there's 4 categories of basic, let's say, natures of people, okay? And those categories are based on something called the modes of nature. For those of you who don't know, the modes of nature, there's 3 modes of nature. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? No. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. Okay. And different people are influenced by different combinations, permutations of these 3 modes of nature. You know, it's just like different colors in the spectrum. You know, you take 3 basic colors and combine them in different ways, you can come up with all the colors and shades of the spectrum. I mean, that's how your computer screen works. It doesn't have all these dots of millions of different colors. It combines the basic colors to come up with all the colors. So these modes of nature affect everyone, and we all have a particular body. That's this thing we're talking about, this thing we're walking around with, oh my God, thing, which is described by Krishna as a yantra. Yantra Rudani Maya. That yantra means a machine. It's a complicated, sophisticated machine beyond the ability of any human being to design or even understand. But it is a machine. So we're walking around with this particular machine, yantra, and this machine is affected by different modes of nature. How's your mode of nature today? Anyway, so let's talk about the different modes of nature and how they affect our machines. Let's say some people are primarily, their machine is affected, it's not you, the soul. Remember that. This is not criticizing your soul. Your soul is above the modes of nature. Manchiyo, Bhaktiyo, Jigena, like that. One who engaged in devotional service, Sagunan, Samati Chaitan, Brahma Bhuya, Kalpada, he rises above. So, but the body has certain modes of nature. And so let's say you get someone who's like just about mostly, or all, if possible, in the mode of goodness. That's called a Brahman. All these situations are equal. One can become Krishna conscious, one can become perfectly spiritual from any particular role in society. So let's say someone is purely in mode of goodness. Body is not they, but the body's in the mode of goodness. That's a Brahman. How can you tell if someone's a Brahman? Well, they like to study. They like to study philosophy and speak and teach and all those other nice things. And this is interesting because it refers to the Bhagavad Gita. And if they're issued, let's say, a physical challenge, like what we call Kshatriya, the second group, who's influenced mainly by the mode of passion, they're not interested in fighting. A Brahmana is simply interested, he's peaceful, self-controlled. That's his nature. And studying and living very, very simply too. So that's a Brahman. And then the next category is what we call a Kshatriya, which, if any of you have read the Bhagavad Gita, you will understand that Arjuna is in that category. And a Kshatriya is very much interested in reputation, prestige, winning. Like Krishna said to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that if you don't fight this war, people are going to make fun of you. So it's very much interested. That's his nature. He's a pure devotee. Arjuna's a pure devotee, but Kshatriya, manifesting Kshatriya tendencies by nature. But if you say that to a Brahmin, that people are going to make fun of you, the Brahmin says, wow, make my day. Help me become more detached from this material world, right? No problem. For a Kshatriya, if someone challenges him to a fight, just like we were talking to a very nice devotee before class, he's interested in physical education. I said, so what do you do if someone challenges you to a fight? Can you refrain from it? No. He'd say, let's go outside and have it out. So that's Kshatriya. So we have to identify ourselves in such a way. And then the next category is called Vaishya. Someone who's like to acquire things, makes money. I used the example before. If you send him to the forest, he'll think about selling trees. Do we know people like that? Yeah. I know people like that. But that's good, because in Krishna consciousness, we need that too. Because how are we going to pay the bills of the temple? How are we going to do this nice project that's, I think you did a prashna for this project today. How are you going to accomplish this unless someone helps financially? A Brahmin is not going to be able to do that. Kshatriya maybe a little bit, but Vaishya, yeah. So we need Vaishyas. We need Kshatriyas. Kshatriya means those who protect others. It doesn't mean those who like to fight just for the sake of fighting and beating up people. That's not Kshatriya. So we need all these. Krishna wants all these people. It's important to understand one's identity within this world, one's machine identity. And then a Shudra, he likes to work with his hands, artistic work. We need so many people like that. Who do you think did all these paintings here? Generally not Brahmins. Kshatriya's not going to paint or sit down and paint, Just not going to happen usually. So everybody can become perfect by understanding their particular nature. That's called Varnashram Dharma, that is within this world. And then, of course, within these particular categories, you have something called the Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. And these are the spiritual divisions. Brahmachari basically means one is a student, single student. Grahastha means one who is married. Vanaprastha means retired, not playing golf, of course. That's not exactly what I mean by retired. I mean someone who's not more engaged in so much work to make money, but they're engaged more in spiritual life. And sannyas is someone like me, rare species. Protected species, right, Maharaj? Maharaj is one of the ones who is in charge of protecting the rare endangered species. So, anyway, so you have these 8 divisions, okay? But for everybody, there's the same spiritual dharma. And what is that dharma? What is that identity of the spirit soul? And that's described very nicely by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jivara Swarupa Hoy Nitya Krishna Das, or sometimes Gopi Bharata Padakamala Dasa Dasa Dasanu Das. And I'll explain what that means. That we're eternal servants of Krishna. Voluntary, joyful, loving servants of Krishna. And we're servants of Krishna's servants. That's their identity that we're hoping to achieve. And by identifying the physical dharma, we can be more steady in achieving the spiritual dharma. So what are the steps that we should take in achieving the spiritual dharma? And once we're acting according to our material, physical dharma. Those steps are elaborated on by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, specifically in the Chaitanya Charitamrita we find it, and in other literatures such as those written by Srila Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There's different stages of achieving your spiritual dharma. And one should take these stages step by step, not to try to jump to a higher level than one is at. And what are those stages? Here's the verse. Ado Shraddha. In the beginning, you have a little interest in Krishna consciousness. And because of that little interest in Krishna consciousness, sounds interesting. You may have some ulterior motive. In fact, we all have an ulterior motive before we come to Krishna consciousness. And even in Krishna consciousness, we have ulterior motives. Ulterior motives means we have some self-centered motive. Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, 4 types of people come to him. People come because they're inquisitive. People come because they're looking for knowledge. People come because they're in distress. And people come because they want some material goods. They want money or something like that. We find this often. Actually, even in India, they even have ceremonies in which they ask God for money. There's one called the Satyanarayan Katha. Anybody from India here? No one from India here. Anyway, in which they pray to God. They tell stories of other people getting money, and they enthuse each other to worship God based on those stories. So people come, and we all have come for one of those reasons. And it's good to be honest about it, too. You know, oftentimes I hear people say, you know, devotees say, all I want is to love Krishna. And I said, well, tell me all about it. No, it has to be some self-honesty. What are my different motives? And in this way, understanding your motives, or what we sometimes call anarthas, you can be honest, work, and pray to Krishna in an honest way. So anyway, so getting back to this whole hierarchy of progress, there's Ado Shraddha. And in the beginning, there's a little interest, a little trust, a little faith. Not quite complete faith. And then you begin to want to associate with the devotees. Because those of you who are here are seeing how happy the devotees are. You are happy? Yes?
Yes.
I mean, people hesitate. I mean, am I in the wrong movement here? Yeah. Should I have done something different in life? Yeah. So you see, Maharaj, he's been serving so many years. He is so happy. He's always happy, right? Well, at least he's honest. That's honesty, actually. That's a good thing. So he's... Wow. Don't always get what you want. So anyway, but you know, he's happy. He's just being humble. You are happy. You are happy. You are happy. we're not a cult. We're not a cult. You are happy. So, yeah. I mean, that's the beginning of Krishna consciousness. One feels relief from all distress, according to Srila Rupa Goswami. And then you actually get, it's auspicious, and ultimately you become happy. And that's been my experience. That, you know, I can't say I'm happy 24 hours a day. But it's so much more, it increases as it goes on. And more you become happy. And so you come to the temple, you associate with those people who are happy. You know, if you come to the temple and you say, what is Krishna consciousness all about? And they say, oh, it's great. You become blissful. Who's going to want to be a devotee, you know? So then that's called sadhu sangha. Then you begin to associate with the devotees, which I think a lot of you are beginning to do or doing now. And as you associate with the devotees, you start to emulate or copy some of the things they're doing, and you want to think, well, they're chanting, they're happy, so let me try this chanting. And that's called bhajana kriya, is the Sanskrit word for it. So one begins to perform the activities, and then you get happier and happier, and then as you're getting happier and happier, then there's certain things that stand in the way of your happiness, and these are called anarthas, unwanted things. Not like your husband or wife, that's not an unwanted thing. Sometimes people approach me and say, you know, my whatever relative is in the way of my becoming Krishna. I said, no, not in the way of you becoming Krishna conscious. What's in the way? No one's in the way. It's your lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, fear. These are called anarthas. And you work on purifying yourself. How do you work on purifying yourself? Chaito Darpana Mantra. You chant the holy names with devotion, with love, with intention. Like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays in his Shikshashtaka. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam maham vishame bhavam buddho kripaya tava padapankaja stita duli sadrasam bhajanti. I'll translate it. O son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna, I'm your eternal servant, but somehow or other I fall into this ocean of material suffering, of birth and death. Please, there's horrible ocean of birth and death, of suffering. Help me, fix me up, and place me as one of these particles of dust at your lotus feet. And so that's bhajana kriya. And then by this chanting and approaching Krishna with love, then all these unwanted things go away. Then you're no longer haunted by these ghosts. It's actually like a ghost or witch of lust, anger, and greed, and illusion, and envy. I mean, envy doesn't make you happy, does it? When you're envious of someone, you want something that someone else has, or you're lusting after, your mind is disturbed. Bhukti, mukti, siddhi, calm. There's another verse. That whether you want something for yourself, like gross things, things like better car or more money, you're not shanta, or you're not peaceful. So you want to be peaceful because you can't become happy without peace. That's why in India sometimes they keep chanting peace, 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 peace. Doesn't work. Yeah, I'm sure some of you heard Om Shanti 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 Shanti. I'm still not peaceful. But you're peaceful by understanding. Actually, there's another verse in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Jagatapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Anyway, by understanding and loving Krishna, then you get peace. Tushanti cha ramanti cha. Another verse. It's peaceful and happy. So that's why getting rid of these things or dissolving them by the chanting process and loving Krishna makes you happy. Because you're no longer haunted by these ghosts. So that's called an arta nivritti. And after you perform, and after you deal with these things and you're chanting nicely, then you become so stable and steady in life. Life is no longer like a roller coaster. Many times I ask people, how's your life like? Oh, sometimes it's real good and sometimes it's horrible. That's the nature of this world. I mean, sometimes you're well, sometimes you're sick, sometimes the weather is nice, sometimes it's hot as whatever, H-E-double-L, and sometimes it's cold, sukha dukkha. But then one is always the same, stable, happy in all circumstances. And that's called nishta, is the technical word for that, stable in one's life, in one's activities. And then after that, in Krishna consciousness, you get ruchi, which means a taste, like a taste for Krishna consciousness, that every time you hear about Krishna, that your hairs stand on end. Your hairs. Every time, Goranga Balite Habi Pulaka Sharir, every time you hear about Lord Chaitanya, wow, wouldn't that be nice? Every time you chant Hare Krishna, every time you take prasadam, which I'm sure you're waiting to take and wondering when am I going to finish, so that you feel ecstasy, happiness, ruchi. Then you become completely, you have to go, it's almost time. So then after that, you get completely attached to Krishna and loving Krishna, and that yatma supersediti, that's the only thing that really satisfies your heart. You're happy. And then your emotions really start to blossom. You get into the stage of bhava. And I don't have time to explain what bhava means, but basically means spiritual emotions that every time you even see a peacock feather, which reminds you of Krishna, you just feel so happy. Everything reminds you of Krishna. Yomam pashati sarvatra sarvam chamayu pashati tashanna pranashami sajamena pranashati. See Krishna everywhere and see Krishna everything. And everything reminds you of Krishna. And anyway, and then after that you come to the stage of pure love. And that's your, how to achieve your ultimate dharma. But again, first figure out, Panchatat, what time? So, first, or along with it, figure out where you fit in this material world so you can be stable and steady in executing your spiritual dharma. And Krishna consciousness, just to end the class, Krishna consciousness and the knowledge of Krishna consciousness encompasses everything phenomenal and numinous, everything material and spiritual. It's really amazing. We have information about the material world like astrology, we have Ayurveda, we have Vastu, how to build your house, how to eat, stay healthy in this world. And we have information how to go back to the spiritual world. Wow. Well, not me, but the Vedas have all this information, and you're all so fortunate to be exposed to this Vedic culture. So, should we take a question or just end class? Question. Okay, question. Anybody have any questions about anything I said?
I would like to ask something. How can we surrender ourselves to Krishna, and how can we know that we are already surrendered to Krishna?
There's that heavy word, surrender. Scary. So, I'd like to express it a little bit differently. You know, you hear the word surrender, it makes me want to run away. What if it? Actually, I was explaining to devotees, this is a standard story I tell everybody, which is a true story, that when I first came to the Krishna conscious movement, 1969, I joined in 71, but I first visited a temple in 69. The devotees told me to surrender, and I said, I'm out of here. They said, what are you doing with that long hair and beard? And these are my greatest attachments in this world is my long hair and beard. They said, you have to surrender. And if you don't surrender, Kali Yuga is coming. Not only is Kali coming, but you're going to become a bear in your next life because that's what you look like in this lifetime. And then they read from the Bhagavatam about the symptoms of Kali Yuga. The she-jackal is vomiting fire. So I turned to my friends and said, I just had an overdose of Krishna consciousness. So, okay, surrender. Okay, so I prefer to say, connect to Krishna, love Krishna, and realize my true spiritual nature is an eternal, blissful, full of knowledge soul, Satchidananda. That's appealing to me. And actually, Krishna conscious, Krishna conscious surrender, sorry. The Krishna consciousness means to voluntarily give yourself to Krishna. Like Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, let's refer to the Bhagavad Gita. So the whole Bhagavad Gita was Krishna explaining to Arjuna what are the results of different types of activities, basically, what Arjuna should do. And at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna asks Arjuna, so what are you going to do? Because Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight. Obviously, he was trying to convince him, philosophically. And of course, Krishna did say, Sarvadhamma Parityajya Mamekam Shana Braja. The best course of action is to surrender to me, or surrender to me. But at the end, he gives Arjuna a choice. So what are you going to do? And he really doesn't threaten Arjuna at that point. He doesn't say to Arjuna, hey, buddy, I'm God. And if you don't do what I want you to do, you're going to hell. And you're going to be in the fire and brimstone of hell while I laugh at you. No, he doesn't say that. He says, you choose. You've gotten the knowledge. You choose. And Arjuna says, I'm choosing to follow your instructions. So Krishna gives that choice. And the choice, the reason Arjuna is choosing to fight, first of all, because he was logically convinced that's the best course of action. And secondly, because he loves Krishna. He was thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day. So he did it out of love, voluntarily. So I would say the goal of Krishna consciousness, what you should be asking is how to give ourselves voluntarily to Krishna with love and devotion and happiness. Realizing that that's our nature. That is our dharma. Realizing that. And that to me is surrender, but the word is sort of like scary. So I prefer not to use the word surrender. I prefer to use the word connect to Krishna and be happy. Like Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. That's really what we're all about. Chanting Hare Krishna. And yeah, like I'm happy in Krishna consciousness. I wouldn't do anything else. I've been doing this for 55 years. You know, who here has been doing something besides Maharaj, for so long, and they're really happy with their life? And it's the same thing for 55 years. Can you imagine? The same Hare Krishna mantra. I don't have a different mantra. I'd still chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. I don't change it each day. You know, let's have a different song today. You know, I like the song, I like the Hare Krishna mantra, but I want a different mantra today. No, because it gets better and better and better, and then you want to chant more and more and more. You know, I was asked one time in the GBC meeting, we asked, what is your favorite hobby? Do you remember that time? They asked that question, yeah. And I said, my favorite hobby is on a Ekadasi, I like to chant 64 rounds. Because it's so nice. You just turn off the internet for a few hours. Which is blissful, especially when you're getting emails all the time as a GBC member in ISKCON. We got this emergency, we got this problem. We got this special meeting coming up in 2 hours. So, you know, it's just, of course that's our duty too, that's our Varnashram duty. Duty for Krishna. And so it just gets better and better and better. I mean, how many people can say that their life gets better and better and better? And I don't need to retire. You know, I'm 76 years old. You know, do you want to play golf? I mean, what else would I do? I couldn't imagine. There's no attraction for the other. It's not that I'm repulsed by the other things. It's just like, it's boring. You know, someone says, you would like to go to the movies? I say, is there a movie about Krishna? No. It's just boring. I can't imagine sitting there for 2 hours just like, watching some stupid love story. Sorry about my sense of humor, Mars. Couldn't imagine. It's just because we were having so much fun serving Krishna. I mean, my whole day was serving Krishna today. Woke up, went to Mangal Arati, went for a walk in the park, chanted, came back, you know, ate prasadam, which is a nice service. I could do that all day long. So, if I had unlimited digestion. And then after that, talking to people all day long about Krishna, answering questions, wow, this is like a dream come true. So no retirement. Yeah, the only retirement is called samadhi. You don't actually retire, you just go on what? Mama janmani janmani sure bhavata bhakti haitaki tvaya. You go on and do the same thing next life. I just want to do the same thing next lifetime. Having so much fun. I wouldn't mind. Life after life, it's fun. Serving Prabhupada. You know, Prabhupada, just being connected to Prabhupada is just so much fun. I mean, nectar, ecstasy, whatever word, superlative word you can think of. Any other questions? Yes. Nice lady there has a question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for today's class. And I would like to ask you what can help us in difficult periods of our lives, for example, anartha-nivriti period, which can be
Right.
long. What can help us that we remain positive and enthusiastic about spiritual practice, and especially when we start to see our real state, that all of these negative qualities and
Good question.
that we remain positive and that we actually support ourselves.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting question, because what I've experienced, I have no negative qualities. Anyway, no, seriously. Whenever whenever I perceive something less than desirable, that's a nice way to put it, that gives me more impetus to approach Krishna. It's like that verse I just recited from the Shikshashtaka, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram. You know, that basically I'm suffering here in this material world. Or like Prabhupada said, we chant like a child calling out for his or her mother. So I personally find it gives me more impetus if I take it the right way. And it also helps me become humble, which is really hard for me. But because in the actually in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the first book by Sanatana Goswami, he equates humility with prema, with pure love of Krishna. So really, it helps us to be introspective, to see the whatever else is happening in our heart. And the pure devotees are thinking like that too, even though they don't have any anarthas. Like, you know, you find Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs are like that. Yeah. Mama Naveda Nashuno, Vishaya Durjana, Gopinath, he prays to Krishna that I am a bad person. You know, Durjana, I'm a bad person. My heart is filled with all these different things. Please, taking this sinner, weep. So it's actually a symptom of ecstasy. You actually feel happy. You can use your anarthas as an impetus to approach Krishna with feeling, with love. You know, Krishna, I really want to connect. But you've got to keep the goal in front of you all the time. I call that the why factor. We always have to think about why we're doing what we're doing. I am not chanting to get rid of the anarthas. I am chanting to love Krishna. So you have a choice to approach things from a negative standpoint. You know, if you start thinking lust, 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 I want to get rid of lust, lust, lust. Sometimes you think about, meditate on anartha more, it just grows. So I just think about, you know, Krishna save me. I want to love you. I don't have any love for you, Krishna. I have no attachment for the process of devotional service. But I just want to come to that point. I want to please Prabhupada. Another thing we can think about is I want to please our spiritual master, Prabhupada, from my case. And then just please Krishna. So then, yeah. So being aware of one's deficiencies actually helps one in devotional service. Being unaware is a danger. So it's a good sign. It's actually a really good sign when you actually go, oh no, I have this issue. That you're aware of it. Okay, good question.
Thank
Okay. How long were we allowed to go on for? Last one, okay. And not as the boss. He always makes sure that I behave myself. So, yeah, one question.
So how can we understand our nature and who should help us in that?
Good question. Well, there's an interesting story from the Mahabharata. When the Pandavas were actually in exile, making believe they were Brahmins, they were basically had to be tested by King Drupada. King Drupada is the father of Draupadi. And basically Arjuna and the Pandavas, basically, they married Draupadi. But Drupada didn't understand whether they were Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or Shudras. So he actually put out all the different implements for each of the Varnas. So like he put out swords and machine guns. No, not machine guns. They didn't have it at that time. But he put out swords and different implements for Kshatriyas. And he put out different things for Brahmanas, Shastra. And he put out different things for Shudras, I guess for Shudras, hammer and nails, and gold for Vaishyas. And the Pandavas immediately went for the weapons. They were looking at the weapons. Wow, isn't this a nice sword? Wow. Far out. So you may not be able to do that. But you can take the help of people who are more acquainted with Varnashram Dharma, and they can facilitate you in understanding what is your psychophysical nature. And actually the Guru does that too. Prabhupada, there's one statement, Srila Prabhupada said that one of the Guru's duties is to ascertain the psychophysical nature of the disciple and engage them accordingly. It means not only the spiritual nature, which is, chanting and everything like that, and spiritual duties, but the psychophysical nature. You're a Brahmin, or you're a Kshatriya, you're a Vaishya, or you're a Shudra. And so, or Brahmachari, Vanaprastha, etc. So, so we need the help of others generally, because many of us would like to think we're Brahmins. And then we go to give Bhagavatam class, and we're thinking, how much money will everyone give? Or, I've actually even seen this in spiritual societies. I'm a Brahmin. I can do a ceremony in your house, a Griha Pravesh, housewarming, but I charge 500 euros. And you can just charge it on your credit card, if you like. Is that Brahmin? No. So we have to understand our nature to act properly in accordance with the Varnashram Dharma system. And it doesn't mean we just classify ourselves in terms of those different dharmas, because we're all devotees of Krishna. We all want to love Krishna, hopefully. And we're all equal. Krishna says anyone who performs his duty within a dharma can actually achieve the spiritual perfection. No one's less, no one's more. Arjuna was not less than the Brahmins. Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, was Vaishya. Krishna's father. And who are the greatest devotees in the world? The gopis. And their Vaishya family, right? Pretty good. And Krishna also appeared in that particular role. Also appeared as a Kshatriya, as Lord Ram, and as Krishna also. Krishna also was the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. So anyway, it's a little mixed. But he enjoyed more his role as a Vaishya than his role as a Kshatriya. Anyway, okay, I think that's all I had permission for. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Panchatattva ki jai. Gaurdatai ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now we're off.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Imate, še prosim malo pozornosti. Zdaj bomo imeli podelitev diplom naših izobraževalnih programov v tem šolskem letu. Če se prosim lahko sedete.
What happens?
There is giving out diplomas.
I give up? No, Mara should.
Both.
Where's Mara? Oh, sit there.
Can you see Maharaj? Bhagavadharma? Bhakti Pravaya Maharaj? Hare Krishna. Torej, dragi bhakte, kot veste, izobraževanje je eno zelo pomembno področje v naši skupnosti, tako da v okviru Bhakti akademije smo letos organizirali 8 tematskih sklopov različnih izobraževanj, v katerega se je vključilo okoli 40-50 bhakt. Izvedli smo okrog 160 predavanj. Tako da bomo danes podelili diplome oziroma certifikate različnih programov. Tako da bi naša gosta danes bosta podelila vsem, ki so zaključili to šolsko leto, diplome oziroma certifikate. Najprej bomo podelili diplome programa Bhakti šole. To je 2-letni program, kjer se bhakte seznanijo z 8 glavnimi temami na duhovni poti. V program se je vključilo 20 bhakt, tako da bomo najprej podelili diplome prvega letnika. Maharaža bosta izmenoma delila diplome. Se pravi, najprej prvi letnik uspešno zaključil Bhakta Luka Bitenc Džagi. Rivol! Yes, Maharaža. Eno. Čestitamo. Sem bliže. Potem naslednji Bhakta, ki je zaključil šolsko leto, je Bhakta Jan Kraševec. Rivol! Maharaj. Potem naslednja Bhaktina je Bhaktin Kaja Kovačič. Rivol! Nitle. So nekaj bah nitle, ker so že počitnice. Potem naslednji Bhakta je Bhakta Klemen Čebul. Rivol! To je iz Jesenic, tudi ga nitle. Potem naslednja Bhaktina, ki je zaključila, je Bhaktin Lucija Žumer. Rivol! Not here. Potem naslednji Bhakta Jaka Cvar. Rivol! Also not here. Potem Bhaktin Vanja Medik. Rivol! Milena, ste tle? Boste vi vzela? Ja. Hare Krišna, hvala. Potem naslednja študentka Jamuna Lila Devidasi. Rivol! Nitle. Potem Bhaktin Katja Matko. Rivol! Also not here. Ok, drugi letnik. Drugi letnik. Bhakta Lauro Petek. Rivol! Krišna. Potem Bhaktin Milena Zagoršek. Rivol! Ja. Potem naslednja Bhaktina Radmila Pavlović Blatnik. Rivol! Nitle. In Bhaktin Katarina Vomš. Rivol! Ok, to so bili udeleženci Bhakti šole. Potem naslednji, naslednji je program tečaj za učence. Se pravi, to je tečaj, ki izobražuje Bhakte o pomembnosti duhovnega učitelja in razumevanje odnosa z duhovnim učiteljem. Certifikat je upravila Bhaktin Jožica Žumer. Arrivo! Certifikat je upravila tudi Bhaktin Maja Štebih. Arrivo! Certifikat je upravil tudi Bhakta Uroš Zupanc. Arrivo! Hare Krišna, čestitamo. Tečaj je opravil tudi Bhakta Luka Bitenc Džagi. Arrivo! Prav tako je tečaj opravil tudi Bhakta Jan Kraševec. Arrivo! Arrivo, čestitamo. Tečaj je opravil tudi Bhakta Nenad Jovanović. Ribol! Madhava Mišra bo predal certifikat. Tečaj sta tudi upravila Bhaktin Radmila Pavlović Blatnik. Ribol! In Bhakta Ivan Blatnik. Ribol! Ki pa žal nista tle zaradi bolezni. Ok, Hare Krišna. Potem imamo pa še program Bhakti Šastri. Premanžari, je tle? Ok. Se pravi, letos so Bhakte opravljali študij Bhagavad Gite po poglavjih in kar znatno število Bhakt se je udeleževalo teh predavanj oziroma kolokvijev, cirka 20, tako da zdaj bomo izdali potrdila za aktivnosti, ki so jih Bhakte opravili. Najprej Ram Tirtha Prabhu. Rivol! Potem Mataji Nataka Chandrika, Devidasi. Rivol! Čestitamo. Potem Sadbhuja Prabhu. Rivol! Čestitamo. In hvala za vaš trud. Potem Bhaktin Špela Šket. Rivol! Potem Bhakta Dejan Budja. Rivol! Ni tle. Potem pa potrdila o udeleževanju teh Bhakti Šastri programa. Bhaktin Jožica Žumer. Rivol! Zdaj pa še sam preberemo, ker večinoma Bhakt verjetno ni tle. Madan Kishore Prabhu. Rivol! Bhakta Jan Černelc. Rivol! Bhakta Primož Šiško. Rivol! Bhakta Simon Vengušt. Rivol! Nalini Yamuna Devidasi. Rivol! Tamal Govinda Prabhu. Rivol! Bhakta Ivan Blatnik. Rivol! Bhaktin Metka Stepečnik. Haribol! Bakta Gregor Stepišnik, Haribol! Še en velik halibor za vse bakte, ki so se letos trudili v teh izobraževalnih programih. Tako premanande, Haribol! Najlepša hvala, dragi bakte. Thank you very much for this function. Yes. Haribol! Najlepša hvala, Hare Krišna. Jugodharma Hare Nam Sankirtanya ki jai. Šrila Prabhupada ki jai. Go premanande, Haribol!
Okay. Aha, zdaj bomo najprej ISKCON zapeli, potem pa nadaljujemo z še par obvestil. Ja? Ali vam kar že zdaj damo še obvestila, pa bomo potem samo še odpeli, ker smo že zbrani. Eno lepo vabilo vsem na Padajatro, začne se v torek. Kaj dosti podrobnosti nisem še našla, izvedla, mogoče če kdo karkoli ve, v glavnem. Vsako dopoldne se gre v Harinam, se gre v en kraj, v eno mesto in se poje in pleše, deli prasadan, delijo se knjige. Bakti so navdušeni, imajo se zelo lepo, ponavadi je zelo veliko tudi mladih, tako da je taka prijetna izkušnja. Spijo pa tukaj v templu, tako da ste vsi lepo vabljeni. Bo pa zagotovo še kaj več podrobnosti, vsekakor tudi na naših drugih kanalih, informacijskih. Njegova svetost Bir Krishna Goswami ima še jutranje predavanje, ponedeljek, torek in sredo. V sredo pol odhaja, tako da če kdo želi, je zelo dobrodošel, ima tudi nekaj sang na domovih. In pa še, do nedelje je v naši družbi vedski astrolog in sicer ime mu je dr. Bir Krishna Sharma. Tako da, če koga zanima, se lahko tudi mogoče tudi name obrne, vam dam kontaktno številko, če bi kdo želel iti k njemu na posvet. Baje je zelo izkušen. To je to, kar je takih posebnih obvestil. Sedaj pa zapojemo še Nrsimhadevu, presadan bo serviran zunaj, povabljeni še na program Plus ob 7, tukaj noter spet v Temple Room, kjer bomo pač pel bhajane spet naprej. Hare Krišna, lep dan.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladalada Dayine. Praladalada Dayine. Hiranyam Kashipur Vaksha. Paraton Risimho. Yato Yamitaton Risimha. Yato Yamitaton Risimha. Bahir Nrisimho, Hridayen Nrisimho. Simhamadim Sharanam Prapadye. Simhamadim Sharanam Prapadye. Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Aduta Shringa. Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nrisimhadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Bhagavan ki jai, Maharaj ki jai, Tagora Premanande.
Prasadam je v šotoru. Dober tek, Hare Krišna. Program pa nadaljujemo ob 7. uri s programom Plus z Lito Govinda Prebojem. Hare Krišna.